Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I am Anil Thomas. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's External Affairs Minister on a 3-day visit to Singapore to cement ties, highlights India's new momentum and growth story, slams China and Pakistan. The fever of Festival of Colours, Holi, grips India. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh celebrates Holi with armed forces personnel at Leh in Ladakh and commends their valour, determination and sacrifice for protecting the nation in harsh terrain and inclement weather. Poland activates aircraft to ensure airspace safety near border as Russia launches airstrikes on Kyiv and the western Ukrainian region of Lviv. Over 200 students and staff abducted by gunmen from a school in northern Nigeria earlier this month have been released. Another 17 kidnapped students rescued by Nigerian army in Sokoto. Well, let's give the latest on what's happening in India in the run-up to the world's largest democratic elections. Well, ahead of the 2024 general elections, National Democratic Alliance ally, the Janata Dal United, that's JDU, has also shortlisted candidates for its 16 constituencies in eastern state of Bihar based on the seat sharing within the alliance. Among those whose names were announced include Lovely Anand from Shivhar, Devesh Chandra Thakur from Sitamarhi, Ashok Suman from Gopalganj, Santosh Kushwaha from Purnia, Master Mujahid Alam from Kishanganj and Ravi Ranjan Singh from Munger. Chandeshwar Prasad from Jahanabad names were also announced. Another political party, the Bahujan Samaj Party or BSP, released its list of 16 candidates in the northern state of Uttar Pradesh for the upcoming general elections. According to the list, Majid Ali has been given a party ticket from Saharanpur, Shirpal Singh from Kairana, Dara Singh Prajapati from Muzaffarnagar, Virendra Singh has been fielded from Bijnor, Surendrapal Singh from Nagina and Mohammad Irfan Saifi from Muradabad and Girish Chandra Jataf from Bulandshahr. Bharatiya Janata Party held a meeting of its Central Election Committee on Saturday to decide the names of the candidates for the upcoming general elections. The list, which is expected to be announced today, will include candidates from Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, Rajasthan, Odisha and Andhra Pradesh. The elections for 543 Lok Sabha seats will commence in 7 phases starting on the 19th of April. India's Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Singh Thakur questioned the silence of Congress party over the liquor case. Addressing a press conference, the INB minister said that Congress, which used to attack the Aam Aadmi Party over liquor case, has itself joined hands with them now. The minister also hit out at the Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann for visiting New Delhi, while a number of people died in Punjab due to spurious liquor in Sangrur.
वाली सरकार कही जाती थी पंजाब से चलने वाली, वो पंजाब के मुख्यमंत्री भी दिल्ली आ गए। अपने राज्य में अपने जिला में 21 लोग शराब पी के मर गए, नकली शराब पी के। ये दिखता है पंजाब की सरकार सोई है। पंजाब की सरकार में नशों के व्यापारियों को संरक्षण मिल रहा है। जो पंजाब में समर्थन मिल रहा है शराब घोटाले के मुख्य आरोपी किंग पिन अरविंद केजरीवाल को, हम तब भी कहते थे अरविंद केजरीवाल किंग पिन है और आज ईडी ने भी कहा है अरविंद केजरीवाल किंग पिन है।
Well, polls open in Senegal on Sunday as the country votes for a new president in the election. This election preceded political upheaval, which saw violent anti-government protests and boosted support for the opposition. 19 contenders are vying to replace President Macky Sall, who is stepping down after a second term. His ruling coalition has picked former Prime Minister Amadou Ba as its candidate. The US has officially barred UNRWA funding through March 2025 after US President Biden signed a $1.2 trillion government funding into law. The bill also eliminates funding for the UN Commission of Inquiry against Israel and fully funds the annual US security commitment of $3.3 billion for Israel, which allocates funding for the Iron Dome and other defensive systems. The act withholds funds from the UN Human Rights Council to hold it accountable for blatant anti-Israel actions and reform the Council's election process to prevent human rights abusers from becoming members. The bill also forces the UN and other international organizations funded in the bill to access as well as report on efforts to combat anti-Israel bias and anti-Semitism and to vet personnel for connections to terrorist groups. The act will also implement new conditions of any assistance to Gaza, which includes mechanisms for coordination with Israel, prevention of diversion to Hamas and other terrorist entities. It's also a requirement for third-party monitoring. Former US President Donald Trump continued his winning streak in the race to the White House. Trump registered victory in the Republican primaries in the state of Louisiana and Illinois. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden won the Louisiana Democratic presidential primary. According to early projections, both Trump and Biden are expected to win over 88% of votes. Earlier this week, Trump won the Illinois Republican primary. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar reiterated India's commitment to manufacturing and creating more businesses in the country. This was while he was addressing the Indian diaspora in Singapore. Jaishankar is on a 3-day visit to Singapore, where he met Singaporean corporate figures on Saturday. He will also meet the top leaders of the country and will call upon Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong.
There has to be a vision for a country. There has to be a leadership. There have to be policies. I mean, you know that all those of you who live in Singapore, who have spent time here, that what has changed this country has actually been those qualities: the leadership, the vision, the commitment, the delivery, the efficiencies. So today what you are seeing in India is actually a commitment to manufacturing, to creating more businesses, greater employment. And this is actually in a way buttressed by a conscious attempt to create a startup culture.
External Affairs Minister further praised India's leadership during its G20 presidency.
It is a country with a momentum. It is a country with a vision. It is a country with an ambition. And in many ways, when I go out of India, I find increasingly I discuss less and less foreign policy, and I discuss more and more with other people what is happening in India. But the world has also noted the change of behavior, the change of attitude, the different levels of confidence that I keep stressing. So they saw that we had a very daunting responsibility last year of managing the G20, of leading the G20. And very honestly, the prediction in the market was that, the Indians are in for a really tough time. They were not entirely wrong. We were in for a tough time, except we overcame it. That contrary to the expectations of many, we were actually able to get a very divided world to come together on some of the most difficult issues of the day, and then agree on an agenda which is good for, particularly for the developing countries, what is called the Global South.
Well, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar took a dig at Pakistan over its terrorist activities, saying that the neighboring country is sponsoring terrorism at almost an industry level.
How do you deal with a neighbor who does not hide the fact that they use terrorism as an instrument of statecraft. Now, it's not a one-off happening. I mean, different countries at different points of time have experienced this. But a very sustained, almost an industry level, assembly line of people whose job it is to do bad things at night. To produce this with the intent of pressurizing your neighbor becomes a real challenge. So what we have come to conclude is that we have to find a way of addressing it, that dodging the problem gets us nowhere. It only invites more trouble. So I don't have a quick instantaneous fix, but what I can tell you is that India will not skirt this problem anymore.
While speaking at an event held post the lecture session on his book at the Institute of South Asian Studies of National University of Singapore, the External Affairs Minister slammed China for disturbing the foundation of equilibrium and violating border pacts in 2020.
We're not talking of solving the boundary dispute. We are talking about maintaining peace and tranquility on the border. And we had. I mean, from 1975 till 2020, nobody got killed on that border. So for 45 years, it worked. We have to ask ourselves today, why is it not working now? And until we have that stabilization of the border, to me, it is illogical to expect that the equilibrium building, the relationship building, doing more things would move forward.
Well, during his 3-day visit to Singapore, the External Affairs Minister met Singaporean corporate figures on Saturday and appreciated their feedback on the Indian growth story based on investment experiences. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres began his annual Ramadan solidarity trip in Egypt on Saturday. During the visit, Guterres traveled to northern Sinai and met civilians from Gaza at the General Hospital in El Arish. He spoke with women and children who had been injured during the ongoing Israel-Hamas armed conflict. The UN chief also met UN humanitarian workers in Rafah. Following his engagements in Egypt, Guterres will proceed to Jordan, continuing his Ramadan solidarity trip. Israeli army released a video on Saturday on its commanding officer of the Southern Command commenting on the operation around Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza. The Israeli commander has said troops will continue their operation at Gaza's largest hospital, Al-Shifa, until the last terrorist is in their hands. Fighting raged on Saturday around Gaza's main hospital, where Israel says it has so far killed more than 170 gunmen in an extensive raid. As the festival of colour, Holi's fever grips the country, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh travelled to Leh in Ladakh to celebrate the festival of colours, Holi, with the armed personnel at the Leh military station. Defence Minister commended the valour, determination and sacrifice for protecting the nation in harsh terrain and inclement weather. He urged the armed forces to establish a new tradition of starting the celebrations of festivals with the soldiers a day before. The minister and armed forces personnel were seen smearing colours on each other and exchanging greetings. Army Chief General Manoj Pandey was also present on the occasion in Leh.
के फौलादी और बुलंद हौसलों के घेरों के बीच हमारा पूरा देश खुद को पूरी तरह से महफूज पाता है। हमारे देश की एक लंबी सीमा है। इन सीमावर्ती क्षेत्रों से कभी-कभार चिंताजनक खबरें भी आती हैं। इन खबरों के बावजूद आपको मालूम है कि आपका देश एक खुशहाल भरी जिंदगी जी रहा है और लगातार यह हमारा देश आगे बढ़ रहा है।
The Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh laid a wreath at the Hall of Fame in Leh, Ladakh. The Hall of Fame is a museum constructed by the Indian Army in memory of the brave Indian soldiers who laid down their lives defending the motherland. It stands as a reminder of the great sacrifice made by her soldiers to ensure the safety and security of our country. With the Festival of Colours round the corner, more than 3,000 prominent activists from India's ruling BJP gathered in Chandni Chowk Lok Sabha constituency. Union Minister Smriti Irani was the chief guest of the event called Holi Utsav. Along with activists, traders, renowned artists and people too joined the event. While Delhi police is deploying special teams on Holi to ensure safety during celebrations. Ahead of Holi, special teams will be deployed at major road intersections to check drunken driving and red light jumping in Delhi and the national capital region. Taposh Bhattacharya spoke to the DCP West Delhi, Devesh Kumar Mala.
Holi time in the national capital, and Delhi police is leaving no stone unturned to make sure it's a safe Holi in the national capital. And to talk more about that, I have with me DCP New Delhi.
We have called up a meeting of all the hotels and restaurants yesterday. We have briefed them all how to conduct and how to, they should not make anyone drink extra, and should be a responsible drinking, and responsibility is also on the shoulders of those who are running the business of hotel and bar. We have briefed them accordingly. Also those who are having a particular license like casual performance license, we have briefed them also. The area which we feel are vulnerable or maybe some issue over there during Holi, we are patrolling that with outside force. Tomorrow we will be having around 30-35 pickets, including the inter-district border picket and inside it, which will be manned not only by the local police and the CAPF outside force, but also we will be having the joint picket as far as possible with the traffic and PCR to enforce it more. It's all about education and enforcement both. We are functioning on, we are looking into all of that. Along with that, we will be having around 50 vehicles patrolling the roads and bylanes in the district tomorrow from 7 a.m. onwards. And we will make sure that no untoward incident takes place in the New Delhi district area.
Delhi police is all geared up to tackle any untoward situation. With Car personally, this is Taposh Bhattacharya for DD India from Delhi.
Well, still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Russia marks day of mourning after concert attack. Stormy weather to impact millions across the United States as heavy rain, snow expected from mid-Atlantic to northeast. Thailand's sacred tattoo ceremony, thousands gather at the Thai Buddhist temple.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
You're watching DD India Live. I am Anil Thomas. The Indian Embassy in the United Kingdom extended a warm invitation to Indian students living in the UK. They were welcomed to India House to join in the lively celebrations of Holi. There, amidst a cheerful atmosphere, they immersed themselves in the joyous festivities, painting the day with vibrant colors and enjoying delicious sweets. While Holi is being celebrated in other parts of Europe, which includes Brussels, the Indian expat community in Brussels is celebrating Holi today. It's an occasion for many to feel closer to home and for others to experience a taste of Indian culture. Ishan Garg is at Brussels Temple where the event is being held and brings us the latest from there.
Bollywood music thumping right behind me, and there's lots of people who have gathered here from all across Brussels, and this is one moment for many of them who've been away from home for a very, very long time to get a slice of home finally. And I don't just mean that metaphorically, I also mean that quite literally, because on my left hand side you've got food stalls selling a lot of different varieties of Indian food, a lot of Indian snacks, and I'm actually standing right next to the kitchen where you can actually smell the food being cooked inside. So, you know, it's all about dance celebrations, it's all about the colors, it's all about the food, and that's how people here are celebrating. Deeper than that, it's all about celebrating the community. It's all about celebrating those cultures and those traditions that most people here are fighting very hard to hold on to. They are in a country where not a lot of Indians live. Belgian Indian population is actually quite tiny, and that's why a lot of here come to stick together and celebrate these festivals together. And in one sense, there's also this sense that they want to pass on this tradition, this culture to the young ones, to the younger members of their family. And the Brussels Mandir, actually, some of the organizers here were telling me how hard they've fought to collect money. Every single penny has gone towards making this small community center for the thousands of Hindus who live here in Brussels.
Well, Sunday, the 24th of March, is a day of mourning in Russia after a large concert venue near Moscow became the scene of a mass shooting late on Friday evening. At least 133 people were killed, including children, according to officials. Dasha Chernushova has the latest from Moscow.
The Russian cruise missile has violated the Polish airspace and has remained there for 39 seconds. It has violated and then returned to leave this airspace. In response, they had to raise their aircraft in Poland. However, to these statements, there has been no confirmation from the Polish side. From the Russian side, we haven't heard it either. The Russian Ministry of Defense hasn't provided yet any comment, neither to the attacks against the Ukrainian side on Sunday, nor towards this missile, which is claimed to have violated the Polish airspace. Again, the Russian Ministry of Defense is regularly saying that they are striking the military targets in Ukraine that are related one way or another to the military-industrial complex of Ukraine in order to achieve the goals of what Moscow calls its special military operation in Ukraine, that is to demilitarize Ukraine and to denazify it and to destroy all the weapons that Ukraine is receiving from the western side. Obviously, we've heard the reports from the Russian MOD that many of those weapons are coming from the western parts, from the western borders of Ukraine, from the western countries, and that's why that could be that the Russian military were targeting some of the military targets in that area, but we are yet to hear the confirmation from the Russian Ministry of Defense on that.
Well, in the latest update from the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Russia launched airstrikes on Kyiv and the western Ukraine city of Lviv on Sunday. The head of Kyiv's military administration said Ukraine air defense downed about a dozen missiles over Kyiv and nearby areas. Meanwhile, Poland stated that a Russian missile went about 2 kilometers into Polish airspace. The operational command of the Polish Armed Forces said on social media that Polish and allied aircraft have been activated, which may result in increased noise levels, especially in the southeastern part of the country. Well, about 23 Nigerian soldiers have been killed and 17 others wounded by suspected insurgents in the country's town of Tillaberi. Defense authorities say that the soldiers were carrying out raids designed to reassure locals in the area of their safety when they were ambushed by the insurgents. A DD India correspondent, Tesim Akhande, has the latest from Nigeria.
The troops were also able to neutralize 30 of the insurgents. More than 100 of them had attacked an army unit using homemade bombs and suicide vehicles. Niger Republic is ruled by a military junta, which toppled the government of President Mohamed Bazoum in a coup in July last year, citing worsening insecurity as a reason. But the security concerns on attacks are yet to abate. In January, about 10 soldiers were wounded in the country's southeast and about a dozen insurgents killed after they clashed at a border town with Nigeria. The latest attack on the soldiers is coming barely a week after the Nigerian military announced that it was breaking off its military cooperation agreement with the United States. The country, just like Burkina Faso and Mali, also pulled out of West Africa's regional bloc ECOWAS, which has been addressing the security issues with a multinational joint task force comprising 15 member countries. The three countries have now set up a joint task force to tackle security threats in their countries. They say it will be operational soon. Tesim Akhande in Jos, reporting for DD India.
Well, over 200 students and staff abducted by gunmen from a school in northern Nigeria earlier this month have been released. This was informed by the office of the governor of Kaduna on Sunday. Earlier, Nigeria's army rescued 17 students and a woman who were kidnapped in a dawn raid by armed men 2 weeks ago in northwest Sokoto state. The attack at a school on March 9th came 2 days after a mass abduction of school children in Kaduna. The US government has pledged its support to the South Africa development community's quest to find a solution to the ongoing conflicts in Mozambique and the Democratic Republic of Congo. As the unrest continues in both the South African countries, the SADC mission is expected to expire in Mozambique in July this year, whereas another SADC mission was deployed in DRC. United States have agreed with the Zambian president's view that both conflicts must be resolved for SADC to be peaceful.
That so many heads of state have come here to Lusaka for this Troika meeting, extraordinary summit. Fundamentally, we agree with what we heard from President Hichilema, that we commend the countries of SADC and the troop contributing nations for contributing to ensure the humanitarian space is available to protect civilians.
Well, powerful storm systems delivered a double blow to the U.S. Northeast, unleashing heavy rain and significant snowfall. New England, particularly Vermont, saw over a foot of snow on Saturday. Flood warnings and wind advisories were issued for sections of New York and New Jersey, where flood waters brought traffic to a standstill in some areas of the tri-state region. According to the National Weather Service, flood warnings persisted for parts of New Jersey into early Sunday morning. In Thailand, thousands of Thai devotees congregated at the Wat Brang Pra temple near Bangkok to participate in a spiritual tattooing ritual to honor the esteemed tattoo master Luang Por Phan. The Buddhist monk Pern, known as the creator of spiritual tattoos, passed away in 2002, but still has a strong following, particularly during the annual ceremony. During the ceremony, some devotees appear to embody the spirit of the animal in their tattoos. The sacred images on the bodies are believed to protect and to bring them luck as well as heal sickness. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, Instagram. We are going to be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Anil Thomas from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.